Tonya rushed into Ruth's door, waving her phone.
Have you seen this?
She says with agitation while swiping. Ruth looked at her friend confused and said,
What is it this time? You know our final exams is coming up in 4 hours. You do not have time for your idle gossip.
with one click, Tonya sends a JPEG to Ruth.
This cannot be true. This must be this must be Photoshop.
Ruth dialed Peter's number. After a few rings, he finally picked up.
Yes, it's true. I am getting married to Esther next month. I'm sorry you have to know this way. I did not know how to tell you without breaking your heart. Ruth, you're a sweet, loving girl with a good heart. Every man will want you as a wife. But I love Esther more. She completes me perfectly.
Ruth and Peter were close friends who shared their hopes and goals with one another. When Ruth had trouble passing the nursing school entrance exam, Peter always encouraged and supported her. On her third try, she finally passed and was very happy. At the same time, Peter was in his final year of studying electrical engineering. He helped Ruth with the process of getting into nursing school. After Peter finished his studies, he quickly found a job at a famous technology company. Because of this new job, he had to move to another country. Even though they were far apart, Peter and Ruth often talked. During school breaks, Peter would invite Ruth to visit him so they could spend more time together. One day on the first day back at school, the teacher gave a test. Everyone was there except for Ruth, who was late because her flight was delayed. The teacher told the class about Ruth's flight and said it was a good reason for missing the test. When Ruth came back to school, everyone suddenly liked her. She was surprised because she was a simple religious person. Her best friend Tonya explained why. Tonya didn't like the three girls, Mary, Sandra, and Esther, who were now friends with Ruth. These girls didn't care much about studying or doing schoolwork. They often said,
Men should be the ones to study and work hard. We are pretty girls and we will marry rich men and have babies for them to secure our place.
they would laugh while looking at their phones. One day, Tonya went to visit Ruth in her hostel. When she arrived, she was surprised to see Mary, Sandra, and Esther talking on the phone with Peter, while Ruth was busy cooking in the kitchen. Tonya was more shocked when Ruth told her that the girls had stayed at her house for the whole weekend and that Peter was happy she was making friends with other students.
You are making a big mistake, Ruth. How could you let this class horse communicate with Peter directly? You're exposing him to these leeches.
She frowned as Ruth hushed her.
Stop it, Tonya. They can hear you. Don't tell me you are jealous because they stayed here for the weekend. Anyway, I trust Peter. He wouldn't do anything with these girls. You should see his secretary and co-workers, Jesus Christ. They are beautiful and very rich. Yet, he doesn't like them. Talk more of these girls.
Ruth scoffed as she flicked plantain in her toy. Tonya froze.
Jealous? I am not jealous, Ruth. I am just worried. Anyway, there is an atomic class right now. Are you coming?
Ruth shook her head.
No, I'm not. I'm going to watch a movie with Sandra, Esther, and Mary.
Tonya sighed and left. Sandra, Esther, and Mary would often go to visit Ruth every weekend. They always insisted on speaking with Peter anytime he called. Ruth thought this was just the kind thing to do. She didn't know that Esther had Peter's phone number.
That's not fair. This is not fair. Don't do this to Ruth now. She has been nothing but kind to us.
Mary spoke when Esther showed the conversation she has been having with Peter on the phone.
Mary, mother of Jesus, always wanting to do good. But don't you think about it? Look at this tall, dark-skinned, chiseled chest, wealthy man's profile picture and compare it with Ruth's picture. Do they match? Can't you see he deserves a girl who is adventurous instead of Mary Amaka Ruth? Esther is only doing her a favor by taking a man because sooner or later he will dump her for someone that fits into his status. It's better he chooses a friend of hers than an outsider.
Sandra scoffed as she turned to Esther and then continued.
Oh, Esther, ride on until it's completely yours. Ruth is not a competition at all. She will be fine when she marries one of those pastors and evangelists that comes around.
Esther and Sandra cracked into laughter. Meanwhile, Ruth noticed that Peter was not calling her as often as before. They used to talk on the phone every evening, but now he only calls a few times a week. He says he's very busy at work. Ruth was sad about this, so she told her friends Esther, Sandra, and Mary about it when they went out on the weekend. Esther hugged Ruth and said,
You know Peter loves you. His job is probably very stressful. Give him some time and he will be back to normal. At least he's still trying to talk to you.
Ruth was very sad because a friend betrayed her. She couldn't think clearly during her final exam. Her exam paper got wet from her tears. She scanned the hall for Esther but couldn't find her.
Time up.
The supervisor screamed as the bell rang. More tears flowed freely down her cheek. She tendered the wet paper to the table and then briskly walked towards Mary and Sandra.
How could you? I thought you were my friends.
Mary, about to walk out from the scene, received a resounding smack across her cheek.
Don't walk out on me, I'm talking to you.
Ruth screamed with rage as Mary froze in utter confusion. The supervisor was very angry with Ruth and told Ruth to come to her office right away.
You did a bad thing. You were mean to another student and hit her while I was still in the classroom. You are too quick to get angry. Because of this, you will have to stay in the same grade again. We cannot let people who are rude and badly behaved become nurses. Maybe next year you will learn how to be polite and kind.
Ruth did not say sorry. She was angry and slammed the door when she left the office. Esther had already left school in preparation for her wedding, even when Peter insisted that her examination were too important to miss. Their wedding was beautiful and colorful. Many important people from different places came to celebrate. After the wedding and honeymoon, Ruth was still in school studying for another year. Many years later, Peter and Esther had 3 children. One day, the driver was taking their children to school when there was a car accident. The children were quickly taken to the nearest hospital. Esther was very scared and cried at the hospital. She asked the doctor,
So, how are my children? Please tell me. Tell me how they are.
The doctor said,
They lost a lot of blood and need a blood transfusion. Please follow this nurse to do the test needed.
After a short time in the hospital, the nurse told Esther that she was not a match and they needed the children's father right away. Peter arrived quickly on the next flight. A few hours later, the hospital said that Peter was not the real father of the children. They needed to find the children's real parents soon or they could lose the children. At this instant, Peter remembered that it was not with his wife when she had the 3 children because she lived with her mother during her pregnancy. Esther was confused while Peter was very angry. He asked Esther,
Tell me the truth, Esther. How did you get the children?
I swear they are our children. I don't understand what this hospital is saying. Maybe their machines are broken. Let's go to another hospital.
Peter shouted at her.
This is the best hospital in the city. Many of my friends use this hospital. Where else do you want to go? To the place where you bought them? I trusted you and gave you everything. Why did you have to lie to me like this?
He was very upset. He rushed into the doctor's office and told him,
Please help the children. They are innocent. Do everything you can to save them. Call me if you need anything.
After that, he left the hospital and went to the airport. While he was driving, his phone rang. He answered, but there was no one on the other side. Then he got a message that said,
How does betrayal feel? Good or bad?
Esther was very sad, confused and crying as she sat in the waiting room. A nurse came and sat with her before handing her an handkerchief. Esther sobbed and said,
They're my children. I carried them in my body and gave birth to them.
The nurse said in a scary voice.
Yes, you did. But they were exchanged at birth. I hope you like the bad things you did to Ruth.
Esther was surprised. She turned to see who was talking, but the nurse was already walking fast into another room. Esther ran after the nurse and called to her. When she caught up with the nurse, she asked,
Did you know Ruth? You made mention of Ruth and said my babies were exchanged at birth.
The nurse looked at her weirdly.
I'm sorry, madam. I've been here all day attending to patients. Are you okay or do you need some medical assistance?
Esther screamed loudly as the hospital room seemed to spin around and around before she fell down. When she woke up, she was tied to a bed. A nurse wearing a mask came closer to her and checked her temperature. Esther asked,
Nurse, why am I here?
The nurse didn't answer at first. She checked Esther's body to see how she was doing. Then she said,
You're sick in your mind. You broke things in the hospital and talked loudly to other patients until we gave you medicine to calm you down. You will stay here until you are better.
The nurse lowered a mask so Esther could see her face. She was surprised.
Ruth, 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 Ruth.
Esther stammered.
Yes, it's me. The handkerchief I gave you had something in it that made your brain work strangely. This might last for days, weeks, or months. I talked to Peter about your health, but he doesn't want to see you anymore. I will take everything from you, just as you did to me in college.
Esther cried and tried to escape the situation.
Please, Ruth. I'm sorry. Don't do this to me, please. At least let me see my children.
They are gone. The doctors couldn't find much in blood for them.
Ruth said. Esther screamed in pain. She struggled against the bed before she was given another injection and fell asleep.